Welcome to the Melinda Eitzen Show. I'm Melinda. Today we have with us Jim Mueller with the Mueller Law Firm. Welcome, Jim.
Welcome. Thank you, Melinda. I love it. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was saying before we started that you're like me because we both are family lawyers. We both own a law firm.
Uh-huh.
We've been doing it a while. And today we're going to talk about marketing.
I think that's a great idea.
And that applies to not just what we do, but anybody listening who owns a business, or you don't even have to own a business to need to market, right?
I agree.
Build your book.
It's anything. It's any industry. It's whatever you want to do. You're always, it's kind of one of those ways of saying is you're always selling whatever your product is. And a lot of times that product is you.
Yes. And I love marketing. I know you do too. You kind of have to have a natural tendency towards it.
Yes.
To build the kind of book you've built and built over time. Well, what's the number one?
Well, I always say, like, the first thing that you market is yourself. It's just kind of the way that you hold yourself out to others, the way you look. We all say don't judge a book by its cover, and yet we all do. There's no way not to.
There's a little bit of cover.
It's 100%. Nobody's looking at me thinking, that guy must play center on a basketball team. So, or he has great hair products. So that idea is just from that first impression, you're always marketing yourself. And then from that likability factor, from that beginning, people want to know, like, when you just meet somebody, one of the first questions people ask is, oh, what do you do?
You need an elevator speech, a short way to describe what you do for that initial contact.
Yeah.
And you have to be thoughtful about it.
Yes. And the funny thing is when I switched over into this, my wife was so embarrassed to really say, when people are saying, oh, what does your husband do? And she would always say that nice, well, he practices family law. And then people instinctively, they say, oh, so he does like wills and estates?
Exactly. And adoption.
Yes. And so I told my wife, I said, Liv, you can't say that, sweetie. Just come right out and say he's a divorce attorney. Because that then is, but they remember that. Isn't your husband a divorce attorney? Yes.
Right. I know they don't really know what to say.
No.
When you say I'm a divorce lawyer, they're like, I'm sorry, or that's good, or and
you're like, it's not my divorce. We're okay.
Right. I put them out of their misery quickly. I say, I like helping people through a hard time. That's part of my elevator speech. And then they go, oh, well, that's good. Yes, helping people through a hard time.
And that's, that's exactly the elevator speech, is to say, like, we're not out there promoting divorce. We don't encourage it. We don't promote it. We help people when they find themselves in that situation.
Yes.
And then when you say it that way, suddenly they're like, oh, well, wow, that doesn't sound so bad.
Right. Then it shifts their mindset too. But nobody does grow up thinking I'm going to be a divorce lawyer.
Actually, that was the area I said I would never practice in.
I did not expect to do this. But when you find yourself in it, now we've both done it for a long time, you find that you like it because of that aspect.
It's amazing. Yeah. And it's true because, doing car wreck cases, doing just big commercial litigation, you're pushing paper around a whole lot. You really don't get that human interaction. And I'll tell you, I think the first time you actually see somebody and you help them out as a young lawyer and you have that personal interaction and you're like, wow, I did good for somebody.
I helped somebody.
Like,
I made a difference. Okay.
That's what grabs you, I
think.
So
you said people want to know, like, and trust. That's who they're going to send work to. So how do we get them to know, like, and trust us? Yeah.
And I think, they always kind of say when somebody, especially in divorce, it's a very personal thing. What I always say is I don't think anybody these days are going to find their heart surgeon or brain surgeon by opening a magazine. That's not what happens. They're usually not doing it by Googling. But you got to be there in those places, in my opinion. And at the same time, it comes from personal referrals. They're going to ask their friends, hey, who did your divorce? Who did you?
Yes.
Like? Yes. And so, what are some of the greatest referrals that you ever get is from the other side.
I know, that's the best. I've had people come in and say, well, they said, do not tell Melinda how you got my name. She was on the other side, but I don't want her to know. But she was really good.
And that's exactly it. And so I kind of say it's like you kind of just get your presence out there a little bit, and a lot of it is it's word of mouth. But how does that happen? First things first, as I tell like young lawyers, is your marketing is to your clients. Do a good job.
Oh, if you're not competent, nothing else matters.
Yes. Yes.
If you don't know what you're doing and you don't make that client happy, then they're not going to be, not only are they not going to be telling people,
Yeah.
hey, go use Jim, who I use, they're going to be saying, ooh.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I mean, as a baby lawyer, you don't know what your partners know. You're not going to be that seasoned.
Of
I mean,
course.
you're not expected to be. But especially in our arena, for some of the first things you do is pick up the phone. Just be there. Talk to them.
Yes, good service.
Yes.
We are service providers.
Yes, 100%. You know, it's one of those. We're basically plumbers. When you have a leak and you need to call somebody, you call your plumber, but you don't invite them to the Christmas party. You know,
Right.
So the idea, though, is that first things first is just being there, and I think being there for the clients and being available is kind of your first level marketing when you start out as a young lawyer, and kind of doing that. I think that applies across the board. Is in no matter what you're doing, be available. And I kind of say is it's a generation thing. Pick up the phone.
Oh my goodness. It is a generation thing. I have to literally say, if they don't reply to your email in X amount of time, you must call them.
Yes.
And then they're just like, what?
Yeah. Why?
Call them? Why would you call them?
But I sent an email.
I know. I'm like, they didn't see it, obviously, and we need to know. So you have to call them. It is a generational thing.
It totally is. And you kind of laugh. And then when you get to the marketing side of stuff, you kind of have a brand, you know, and you think about it like it is. It's, you know, look at the Nike. If you could show that swoosh anywhere and everybody knows what it is.
That's
you
true.
know. And so this, you know, it kind of starts all of like, you can get creative. That's kind of the artsy side, is like, what is your brand? What do you have here? And kind of just getting that all over the place, you know, and strategically thinking what matters most. You know, it's kind of I kind of laugh at it. I remember many years ago at a local dive bar, they had urinal cakes. That was a DUI lawyer. And it made me die laughing because I was like, that's very strategic marketing.
It is. It is. So think about your audience, right?
That's exactly it.
You talked about human to human connection.
Mm-hmm.
And being in the magazine is fine. It might remind someone that you've already had a human connection with, that you still are out there practicing law. But first, the human to human connection.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody says, who do you know?
It's there. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't make that connection from sitting on your couch.
Correct.
So what are you doing?
And
How do you make the connection?
Well, and that is where it truly is. When with the family side of things, I mean, I laugh. I have an Olivia, and I think everybody should get one because it allows me to do that, so many different activities and that stuff outside of when you're just in the office working.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard. You can't start getting out there when you think business is slow. You're out there when business is busy. You're out there at all times. And it's little things. I laugh back when pre-kids, you know, I used to coach soccer. My neighbors were big soccer players, their kids were. And so I helped, you know, be their assistant coach. Next thing you know, I had a school of Lakewood Elementary that all knew, oh, you know, our kid's soccer coach actually is a divorce attorney. And it's little things like that as doing as much as you can. Kind of, you know, it's like joining different activities and all that. We have
but
that.
When you're doing that, somehow they knew. So you used some form of your elevator speech when you were coaching.
Yes.
Enough for them to remember.
Oh, he does this.
Jim's a divorce lawyer, because if you never reveal what you do for a living,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how great they think you are.
Yes.
Right.
And that's kind of, you know, yeah, we can't be shy about what we do. And so that's what I always say. It's like, nobody's leaving a conversation with me not knowing usually what I do.
Yes.
Kind of
And
how that.
we have some stories from our work that could be told in a way that preserves confidentiality that would make them remember us.
100%. We
So
have
that
the
could
best
be
stories.
Part of the elevator speech is a little funny story. I had a case once where my client said to me, Melinda, I had this friend, he worked in the mall, and they were throwing out these mannequins. And do you think it's strange if I sleep with a mannequin? And I was like, had to keep a straight face.
Had to keep it.
Had to keep a straight face. And I said, well, I think it's unusual.
Yes.
So that's a story, right? I just told it to you in 3 seconds, but you will never forget
Exactly.
that I had a mannequin sleeping with my client's story. So that's one way to help people remember what we do for a living.
Yes.
And have a little connection. Okay. So we're out there. And you made an example of things you enjoy doing anyway.
Yes.
Just in your normal life, tell them about it. in addition to anything you're doing anywhere you are. Like I divorced one of my doctors. I divorced people at my child's school. I divorced my dance teacher. I divorced the person who owned the dance studio. I divorced my sailing instructor. So that's just things I was doing anyway. But I didn't go sailing
Right.
with the intention of getting business. It just happened, right? So let's say we're trying to think of something that is for the intention of getting business.
Yeah.
What are areas where you think it is helpful to get involved that have a higher chance of referrals coming?
Well, I will say nowadays, I mean, so much is online. That is a big thing. And I understand, the price cost sometimes that people see. It can be sticker shock sometimes of like, oh, I got to keep my SEO up. I got to figure out all of this stuff. No, it's not cheap. At the same time, you have one client that comes from that, you just paid for it without a problem. And so I think sometimes a lot of it, especially owning our own firms, a lot of it is we're risk takers at the end of the day. Yeah. And you have to be willing to bet on yourself a little bit. And so, I think sometimes you have to put money into this stuff to get, you got to pay to play a little bit. And and that is something that I think marketing wise, you have to think about. Could you imagine if somebody said, oh my gosh, Melinda is the best divorce attorney, you need to go to her? Well, what are they going to do? Google.
Look at my
Melinda
website.
Could you imagine if they did Melinda Eitzen, divorce attorney Dallas, and it went 404, page not found? Like,
I would not impress them.
Correct. It's kind of, or quite frankly, if it was, what's your email? Oh, meitzen@hotmail.com. They'd be like, really? That's interesting.
Right.
I mean, so there's
not very professional.
To me, yes, some of those small little nuances, it does make a big difference. So you've got to have that appearance of, professionalism and make sure you put some money and you have to spend some money in order to have that appearance of what it is. And, I mean,
you might try some of it and you may not feel like you had a return, and then you try something else. It's hard to measure, in my opinion, it's hard to measure the return. It's not always a straight line between I spent money on this ad and I got this work, because I think it's a bigger picture.
Correct.
Someone saw that ad, someone got my name, they saw me in D Magazine, and they said, oh. You
just hit the nail on the head. That is exactly how it is. It's like the trifecta. Is they saw you in the magazine, somebody else said it over here, they look you up and they thought it was great, and then next they're perfect.
Or two people gave them my name.
Two people give it to you, they're hiring you. Mm-hmm. Or, I asked some people and I got a list of 3 names from each of them, and you are on both lists. And that kind of stuff and a lot of times, like you and I said, was if you're in D Magazine, it's not because somebody looked us in the magazine and hired us from that. It's that name recognition. Like, I do remember you. I remember that. And
now I have had a couple where I think it literally was from the magazine.
See, there you go.
One person, I was in D Magazine under 40.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was a long time ago. And when
last year,
No. When I was like 48, somebody came in with that magazine. They had held the magazine for 8 years.
They hated their spouse that long.
Thinking, I'm going to need a divorce, but I don't know when.
Yeah.
And then they found me in the magazine. So there could be a direct, but that isn't the most of it. I think most of it's the bigger picture of the marketing. Okay. So let's say that I'm a young lawyer and I'm thinking I have some time and I'm willing to invest it and I'm going to join something. Mm-hmm. Should I go do work in the bar association? Should I join a marketing like BNI?
Like a group?
Yeah. Should I go volunteer at the Chamber of Commerce?
Right.
What do you think?
I think at the beginning, it truly is that, what did you find what do you like? What are your hobbies? Because I will tell you, some of those groups can be a beating. I mean, it's a hard thing to say because, their meetings are at 7, or their meetings are here. And guess what?
It needs to work for your life.
It has to work for your life. And I think that's what happens is you figure out what works for you. And you it's a little bit of trial and error. It sometimes is. Because I had some wonderful provisors groups, BNI groups, all these kind of things. And, I was like, those were great. Met a whole lot of wonderful people. And as a young lawyer doing the general bar stuff, I really liked that. And then as you get into the niche side, I love getting involved statewide and all the different CLEs and the speaking and doing all that stuff. It just kind of gets my name out there. Someone
Right.
called the other day and said, "Hey, Jim, I need somebody that's going to help me out in San Angelo, and I know you do a bunch down there. Can you help?" Perfect. Like,
Yes.
it's something like that, but I like doing it.
And part of it is you have to think about, what do you want your practice to look like?
Yeah.
So you want to go to San Angelo. I don't really.
Right. No, there's a lot. Yeah.
So I'm not going to be promoting myself in that way. But I decided early in my practice, I was probably it was 2001, maybe a 6-year lawyer. Collaborative came to town, and I thought, this is the thing for me.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm going to do everything I can to promote myself as a collaborative lawyer. I want people to think of me that way.
Yes.
So once you decide what you like, what in whatever industry you're in, then you start to brand yourself that way.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to start writing about it. I'm going to start talking about it. And I think I am now known as a go-to in collaborative. I've taught it all over the country. Other
And
people how to do it.
Like it has totally led into, you've litigated so much. Then you've done, collaborative, and then you've done mediations, and your name is very out there in that essence of being like, who can get this case settled? And so that idea too is like, we never bring you easy ones.
I know. I have kind of developed myself into the hard mediation cases, but I like that, right? Because I have seen a lot of things in my practice. But I think that whatever your interest is, like it doesn't make sense to market yourself for something you don't really want to do.
Correct. Like
So-
I think I've done maybe a collaborative case a year.
Yes, yes. May not be the
mine is
focus.
more, I'm litigating, that's kind of like what.
And complicated. You're
Yeah.
litigating complex litigation in family law, which is not everybody has the backup
Right.
of a firm to do.
Yeah.
You have an excellent firm with a lot of resources, human resources,
Yeah.
abilities to cover things. You can't take a big case on if you don't have a certain level of
It's true.
resource behind you.
Yeah.
So you have intentionally built a big firm with very strong lawyers that people know and like, and that are
Thank you.
well equipped. Yeah. So, but that was intentional.
Yeah.
And you took, like you said, we're risk takers.
Yeah.
It takes some risk to do that.
Mhm.
Every time you hire somebody, it's a risk, right? I'm going to pay this person. I hope they do something.
Yeah.
I hope we have enough work for them to
Yeah,
do.
it's exactly it. And I'd say, too, it's the idea of getting involved in activities that you like. It's really easy, in my opinion, to get involved with your kids' activities. That kind of happens
Yes,
naturally
yes.
as parents, So
Yes.
that right there, I kind of laugh is once you have kids, it's like, well, here's an avenue to market because I'm going to coach
Yes.
anyway. I'm going to help out here. My wife's going to be on cafeteria duty, that kind of stuff of what you're doing. And then as you get older and the kids get older, you're kind of saying like, well, I like being up at the country club. Like, so what am I going to do? That is also, yes, I'm not, again, we're not promoting anything, but there isn't anybody at the club that doesn't know what I do.
Right.
And I don't mind sitting on the board of the club and helping that, it's,
You're a doer.
yes. And it's the same thing of joining just the other professional groups, of joining the academy and kind of doing that stuff all across the country. I love that. You get to travel
Yes.
all over.
What's good about serving, like I did a lot of bar work coming up. So I was
Yeah.
I'm a past president of the Plano Bar. I'm past president of the Collin County Bar. I'm a past director of Texas Young Lawyers. I'm a past director of Dallas Young Lawyers. So I don't do any bar work now, but I did it for many, many years, maybe 15, 20 years. I was always on a bar committee.
Yep.
What's good about committee work is it's not just a cocktail party where somebody met me and I seem nice. They're seeing me
As how your work is.
Yes. And one of my bosses told me early in my practice, how you show up on that committee and the way you handle yourself,
Oh, yeah.
they will assume that's how you practice law.
Yep.
So don't do it unless you're going to be the best committee worker ever.
Agreed.
And I thought, you could actually have an instinct the other way. I should sign up for everything and just kind of show up and I'm meeting all these people. No. You want to be the one, and I was, because he told me that, to win the award.
Yeah.
If there is an award to be won for best committee worker, you want to be that person. And that is true. Then they think, oh, Melinda shows up when she's supposed to.
Yeah.
Melinda does what she says she's going to do. I bet she's like that in her practice.
You have to be. I mean, and that's kind of it. It is. And that's where I'm saying is you're always marketing. You and I were talking about this ahead of time. I said, people don't realize, when you're at a restaurant, how many people overhear conversations?
Oh, on an airplane.
Yeah. Oh, airplane.
I was on a DART train and I got a client.
See?
I was going with my kids to the zoo and I was talking
Don't
to
date yourself. You
another
were on
client.
a DART train?
On a DART train, going to the zoo, on the phone with a client. Another man on the DART train said, "Can I have your card?"
Yeah.
And he said, "I thought you care so much about your client. You're talking to him even when you're going to the zoo with your friend." I got a client from that.
That's perfect. See, and that's where it is true.
I shouldn't have been on the phone on the DART
Yes. But
my poor children.
well, and you're always, that's the idea of always marketing. I laugh. I mean, you can date myself a little bit here, but I kind of joke, and people that know me know I'm very tatted up, right? But for many years when I was a young lawyer, I never wore short sleeves. I would never wear a polo shirt. I would never wear that I was constantly long sleeve, always wore my tie, always did that stuff. And that's because I was marketing. When you're a young lawyer, you're going to have an impression of like, who's that guy?
Yes.
And I remember how long it was after I got in the academy, and we were in Hawaii, and we went to the pool with the kids, and Brian Webb goes, "Jim, turn around." And he's like, "My, aren't we colorful?" And I just kind of laughed, and he's like, "I had no idea." And I was like, "That's intentional."
Yeah.
It was intentional, so
Yes.
that is that, if you're a financial, wealth advisor or an investor or any of that stuff, and you come in and, your shirt's got holes in it and your car's broken down, is that somebody you're going, let me give him my millions of dollars because he must be good with money? So that's that idea too, is you're saying
There is some
there's a lot said to it.
importance.
I mean,
to
look
it.
at realtors, their cars. Look at a realtor's car. Usually it's always clean.
Yeah.
It's always a very nice car. It is, a lot of times they're driving clients around. They're doing all this stuff. So that's something to them. A realtor is really putting money into that car. And that is true.
Mm-hmm.
We office in the same building. It is a beautiful building.
Yes.
It is a wonderful location. We both know it's not cheap.
Right.
The rent is, but where are y'all? We're in Highland Park. Oh,
Yes.
where's your office building located? Right across the street from Albernays. If some people say, this is going to sound terrible, but if some people say, well, what's Albernays? Or where's Highland Park? They might not be our perfect client, and so they might be able to afford a different lawyer. But that is also in and of itself marketing. And to me is like, where are you going to be? What is your office going to have over here? What are you driving? It does sound crazy, but there's a lot. I mean, that is a lot to it as well.
Yes. We started in downtown Dallas, and this was when a lot more people were in downtown Dallas, but it was very stressful to our clients because if they weren't downtown people, it's one-way streets. They couldn't find the parking. Our building we were on the 48th floor. The elevator banks were separate levels. They couldn't figure out the elevators. By the time they got to me, they were oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
So it was a great move to get out of downtown for us so that the client experience
is better.
Yes.
So, funny story is how, we're looking at it many years ago when I first was moving into our building, and I was looking at where we were going to go, and I gave my wife the address to various buildings that we were looking at.
Yeah.
And one of them, she missed the turn on McKinney, and she's like, it was a one-way, and I was like, scratch that off.
Right.
The other one, she was like, well, I found it, but where's the parking garage? I don't know where it is, and I was like, cross it off. And because you have to think about that. It's just ease. What's your location like? And because I don't know if people ask you this, but they'll also often ask, like, is there a side you represent? Do you only represent?
Yes, people do ask me that.
And no, we represent both sides. But, if I were...
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time. But you kind of laugh being like, you have to think about those things. Versus...
There are firms who promote themselves as representing men only or women only.
Yeah.
I like representing both.
Me too.
And when people have asked me that, one time I counted and I kind of had equal.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to say, I think I'm equal.
Yeah.
It really does. And I'll say this from a marketing perspective. Why would you cut out half the market? I don't.
Right.
That's like, I'm going to be a heart surgeon, but I'm the men's heart surgeon. Like, that's weird,
I want to help humans divorcing. I don't care what gender they are.
Exactly.
So that is interesting.
Well, and that goes back to the idea of saying is we're not promoting divorce. We help people through it when they get there. And that is the idea. Then I've never understood that only representing one side.
No, me neither. What do you think about social media? Should we be heavily on social media? Does it matter? Or are there only one type of social media?
I think social media can be used very well. I mean, one, if I didn't have social media, I wouldn't know what was happening with my high school buddies.
Yes, I like that aspect.
And men are the worst. We don't text each other. It's one of those, they really keep up all the time. But I think it is another way that you can use it as a tool. I think it's a great tool to use. We were joking about this because I worked with Jeff Crilly 15 something years ago.
He owns the studio.
And we talked about, and I remembered the story that he told me about his daughter finding you online watching videos 15 years ago. And I think it was on, YouTube or video. And it's like,
YouTube. I had a YouTube channel.
Yes.
I was talking about how to practice law, basically.
Yeah.
Like tutorials on how do you get ready for timber hearing. My husband was shooting me. It was like, so not the quality of Jeff Crilly's studio here at
But it's
Real
amazing.
News.
And so I think all of that is the idea of saying, keeping top of mind. And
Yes.
social media, whether you like it or not, and we joke about the generational thing, but people's grandmas and grandpas are on Instagram now. It's crazy what they see.
Yes.
Like I'll be the first one to say I don't do TikTok. I don't know.
I haven't
TikTok.
done. I have never done a TikTok or watched a TikTok.
But my office was talking, and they were saying, "Oh, really? I get a lot of my news from it because once you follow one, it kind of targets you, and then you get your news
I
that way."
see.
I mean, I kind of joke is Olivia and I were talking about some product the other day, and as soon as that happened, she went to next day on Instagram, one of her feeds
Oh yes,
was
it
an
is.
ad for it.
They're listening to us.
They
for
are.
sure.
Yes. So I say that I think social media is another way that you can really promote yourself, good or bad.
Oh my word. On the bad, there are lawyers who are doing things. Maybe they're overdoing something like drinking, and they're showing it all over social media, or they go to a bench bar conference and they're falling down drunk. And,
Yes.
and I just think that is the opposite of what we
100
should be trying to achieve.
Yes. And that is exactly where you say that where you're always marketing, And,
Yes.
we were talking about this. Is it Jan who does the makeup? Who does makeup?
Oh, Cindy.
Cindy. I was way off. But and talking to Cindy, she was like, family lawyers are my favorite people. And I joked because I said, yeah, we're all very cordial and friendly. We all could probably name the same people that we all don't get along with.
Yes, there's a short list.
There's a short list, and we all know that short list.
Yes.
But otherwise, we always get along, and we say, that's good for our clients.
Yes.
I mean, this is a draining profession that we're in, so I kind of say is like, guess what? I would, if somebody came to me and they like, my spouse hired Melinda, I'm like, great.
It attracts people on the whole to this work that do care about people.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people, strangely, who had some connection to ministry before they became a family lawyer. So it does attract people, the good ones of us, which I think is the majority.
I do too.
That want to help people and want to do a good job for their client and don't want to be unreasonable, but they do want to be a strong advocate. And so we can, be fierce in the courtroom and you can be making your argument and I could be making mine. And you would think that we're not friends. And then we can walk out and be like, how are your kids?
Fine. Exactly. Well, and think about it this way too. It's the same thing I would imagine in other industries as well. Many of them can have this, but a lot of times our clients will say, well, my spouse will want to know, do you have any names that I can give my spouse?
Yes.
Guess what? So when you go into that courtroom or when you pick up that phone and how you act in a case, great, you're on my short list.
Right.
And so I know people that have gotten off a list very quickly because of the way they behaved or what they lied about and how they, act. And so, again, that's that whole marketing side of it. It's like, do I want to work with this person?
Treat people like you want to be treated.
Yes.
Sounds so trite, but it's so true.
It is true. And that's the same thing of like your best marketing are your clients. The clients that go out there and say good things is the best.
Oh, right on. That's why competence first,
Yes.
right? I tell like a 1-year lawyer, don't worry about marketing yet, except generally
100%.
what we're talking about in the world. Become a good lawyer.
Yes.
Focus on that.
That is it. Their clients at the beginning are the other attorneys in the firm that are ahead of them. That's who you're trying to serve first. Because how does that work? They don't have clients. It's the lawyers within the firm, and as you're the higher ups, you start to say like, oh my God, like they're a good worker.
Yeah.
They're going to get, like, I can see it in them.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have something, because there's a lot of what we do that is a little bit of an it factor, and you can't coach it. And
agree
you
with that.
cannot coach litigating. Some people are the best second chair lawyers who never want to get up in court. That's
Yes.
fine.
Yeah.
Do your
We
thing.
need those.
Yes, 100%. And I joke, I tell lawyers too, take some tips of, how we practice, but you can't do the things that I do,
That's why I don't feel like there's competition in that
Yeah.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is exactly like me. Nobody
No.
is exactly like Jim. And there's going to be people who have a preference of, I need Jim for this matter. Oh, I need Melinda for this matter. So all boats will rise. There's plenty of work for both of us.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us how to find you.
If you're going to you can come to Google me if you want, but MuellerFamilyLawGroup.com is the easiest way to find me.
And you service what all?
So
areas?
we do all of Texas, kind of all over. There really is not an area that we don't do. I kind of laugh. You can't see, but I'm wearing cowboy boots. I grew up wearing cowboy boots from Wildwood, Missouri. So, but even we practice in Tarrant County, the dreaded Tarrant. But no,
Across the river.
we're all over. We do high net worth individuals. We do, all middle income, low income, all of that because of the fact that my firm is so big. So we've got lawyers of all level and all skill. Every partner's board certified in family law, and many of us are, academy members all the way up. And so
So you have younger lawyers who could maybe handle a little bit smaller case with supervision by you or another partner, and then you have a team
Yes.
for the really big cases.
That's exactly it. And most cases that we have will have a team on it. It'll have a partner on it, an associate on it, a paralegal on it. And I say, because that's really, at the end of the day, that saves clients money.
It's
And
the best service.
It is. And you know that because I would say, hopefully, you're not indexing discovery these days in your career.
I draft nothing.
Exactly. I
mainly talk.
that part of my career. I'm so glad when we got to where you don't draft originals.
That's why I built my firm. I just had to keep hiring people.
Exactly.
Lisa Duffy and I were like, who else can we hire to do the stuff we don't want to do?
Well, and you don't, sometimes it's overkill. You're saying sometimes, you're going to go down on a on a pretrial hearing to get a date, and that's it. Well, you don't have to pay $7.50 an hour to do it.
Let's send the baby lawyer.
Yes, and it's like, I just saved you money. So that's the benefit of our firms, is really having those teams that can be able to help everybody and at all different levels. But I laugh because I love being in other counties and other jurisdictions and traveling all over the place. And part of that because of my roles on the various boards throughout the state and country.
You've had that opportunity,
and I'm not getting hometowned. I remember Rucker, Judge Rucker, who's now long been retired, 15 years ago. The other side told me that they were going to teach me a lesson and what was going to happen, because I was never in front of Judge Rucker. And it was right after advanced family law, and he gave a little short synopsis of some of the higher cases and the big changes in the law. And then when he calls docket, we get up there, and he said, Jim, it was absolutely wonderful being with you in the Taffel Suite last week. And I enjoyed getting, talking with you. And I kind of looked over and gave a wink and a smile, and I was like, let's see how this goes. So, and I kind of joke because Bill Harris, when he was on the bench out in Tarrant County, and I was a young green lawyer, and he asked me where I worked, and it was on the other side of the river, and then I should go back. And I joked because I flippantly, and shouldn't have said this, but I said, fortunately, Judge, it's not the Tarrant County Family Law Code. It's the Texas Family Law Code. He told me to sit down and was going to hold me in contempt. I got a little scared. But
yeah, he tried to put me in jail once.
See, that's a good bonding experience. But we have to have these as young lawyers so you know what you can say. Like now we have the ability to say things in court that young lawyers can't. But he's been around a long time.
Yes.
You just, I laugh. How many clients will say when they're talking to your associate, well, find out what Melinda says.
Right.
You might give the same advice, but we're just more seasoned.
With authority.
That's it. So I kind of laugh. That's what they do. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This has been wonderful. I hope a lot of young lawyers watch this to help them with their marketing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Melinda Eitzen Show, and look up Jim Mueller. He would do a great job for you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.